We'll discuss about types of graft rejection today. So types of graft rejection are hyperacute rejection, acute rejection and chronic rejection. So we'll see how these things manifest. So if you talk about hyperacute rejection, it is in this type of rejection the rejection occurs actually immediately. It occurs within minutes to hours after host blood vessels are connected to the graft vessels. So the mechanisms that are involved could be pre-formed antibodies, antibodies against the ABO blood type antigen, antibodies against HLA antigens can mediate this. This means there will be no vascularization of the tissue, of the graft tissue. That means the blood vessels are not formed between the graft tissue and the host tissue. It's just the joining. The moment the tissues come in contact by virtue of their blood vessels, then the antibodies that are previously present in the host could lead to the rejection of the graft. However, if you think about from where do these antibodies arise, it could be due to previous blood transfusions, where the case may be, there could be some kind of those kind of things, and of course there could be, because of blood transfusions, there could be also some kind of antibodies developed to HLA antigens as well. So these actually mediate the hyperacute rejection, and the rejection is almost immediate. So what happens is that complement gets activated, you have damage of the endothelial cells of the blood vessels, then you have platelets activation, platelets get activated, then thrombosis means formation of blood clots, and vascular occlusion, that means the blood vessels they get blocked. So if you see the endothelial cells in this figure, then the blood vessels, endothelial cells, the alloantigens they are seen, and then a response is mounted which can lead to severe damage to the graft tissue, and the graft tissue gets rejected almost immediately. The other type of rejection is acute rejection, and the time period for its occurrence is within 2 days, within days to 2 weeks after transplantation, and 80 to 90% cases occur within 1 month of the transplantation. So if you say acute humoral rejection, in which you have acute vasculitis manifested by the endothelial, mainly by the endothelial cell damage, the damage to blood vessels occur, the endothelial cell line is destroyed, and then you have the damage to the blood vessels occurring. Cellular rejection, parenchymal cell necrosis along with infiltration of lymphocytes and macrophages. So in here, lymphocytes and macrophages also play an important role. They cause the damage to the cells of the blood vessels, and then you have in the beginning there is some kind of blood vessel formation to a smaller extent, and then the response, acute rejection, takes place, and then you have destruction of the cells. So mechanism, vasculitis, it means IgG antibodies against alloantigens on endothelial cells. Then you have CDC, that is cell dependent cytotoxicity. Then you have delay type hypersensitive response, which is mediated by Th1 cells, and killing of graft cells by CD8 plus TC cells. So you can see both the branches, both cell mediated and humoral immunity, actually are responsible for this kind of damage to the blood vessels, and then finally the cells of the graft are also destroyed, and you get the rejection of the graft. So if you think about the acute rejection, the pictorial representation you can see here. You have parenchymal cells, you have alloreactive antibody, the antibody is reacting against the alloantigens, you have damage to endothelial cells, and then finally you have damage to the blood vessel and as well as to the cells, and the rejection of the graft occurs. Third type of rejection is chronic rejection. Occurrence time is quite elongated in this. It develops from months to years after acute rejection have subsided. There are mechanisms to subside the acute graft rejections, whereas these reactions they take several months or years to form, and most of the times the chronic rejection is irreparable. So fibrosis and vascular abnormalities with loss of the graft function. So what happens is that the organ becomes functional, it remains functional, and then slowly the organ gets damaged because of fibrosis. That means the fibroid tissue is formed, tissue cells are damaged slowly, and the graft actually loses its function. This is the most like severe, though delayed, but it actually leads to loss of the graft function. Any organ that has been transplant that becomes non-functional and there is no remedy for it, you have to again go for a transplant. This cannot be managed as you see can be managed in case of hyperacute or acute rejections. So mechanisms are not clear. Extension and results of cell necrosis in acute rejection, it could be one of the reasons. There can be chronic inflammation and inflammation that is prolonged, which is mediated by helper cells as well as macrophages, and organ degeneration can also be induced by certain non-immune factors. So if you see in chronic rejection, the time taken is quite long. However, if there is the onset of chronic rejection, rejection occurs, then we have no other remedy but to go again for the organ transplant. We cannot manage it like we are managing the acute rejection. So this is the, you see, this is a pictorial representation. You have damage to cells, macrophages, antigen presenting cells, all cytokines, all type of immune mechanisms are responsible for this to occur. But why does this occur or how is the onset? The events are not yet that much clear. So this is like if you see the graft rejection of a kidney has been transplanted, and then you see a pictorial representation where the damage to the graft has occurred and then you don't have the kidney that is functional. So chronic rejection, if this is the figure, the histopathological examination of the cells. Now how these things, how can we make this successful? There are many ways. We'll talk about the therapeutic measures that are taken. So immunosuppressive therapy, you can use cyclosporine, FK506. These are inhibition. They inhibit the transcription factors and fat transcription factors. And before carrying out the transplant, there are certain techniques that are also used. It can be the complete irradiation can be carried out of the bone marrow, so that the immune cells are destroyed, and when the graft becomes successful and immune system is not that at a higher stage of reactivity. Then you have azathioprine, cyclophosphamide. They block the proliferation of lymphocytes. We can also use antibody against T cell surface molecules like anti-CD3 monoclonal antibodies. This can also deplete the T cells. Then anti-inflammatory agents like corticosteroids, they can also block the synthesis and secretion of cytokines. All these things can be used, and not one kind of therapy is used, but a combination of therapy is used depending upon the observations and clinical findings that are observed by the clinicians. They decide how the therapy is used, and in most of the cases we have to use immunosuppressive drugs, particularly in case of organ transplants, for a longer period of time, so as the immune system remains suppressed and the chances of the graft rejection become very low, so that the graft actually thrives throughout the lifetime of the recipient. So immunosuppressive therapy has a very important role to play in these kind of things. And yes, now monoclonal antibodies are also being used to a greater extent, where they can be used to specifically target T cells or B cells. Then they can be removed, their concentration can be lowered, so that the graft becomes successful. So I think this is about the transplantation immunology. You have the access to the book, as well as I have already sent to you the parts of the book that you have to go through for getting more detailed information about this. If you have any queries, do email me or send a WhatsApp message, whatever you find it to be feasible. So this is it for the transplantation immunology. Then we'll see about the next topic in the next lecture. Thanks.